Happy minor league opening day. On today's show, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the Texas Rangers farm system in 2025 and talk a lot about what might be the next superstar on the Texas Rangers. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Paddock, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Paddock. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, I'm going to talk about the Rangers farm system minor league opening day starting. Talk about 5 big questions the Rangers prospects need to answer this season, and where the heck is everybody? But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Now, today is opening day for AA, High A, Low A. AAA has already been going for a week, but it is minor league opening day, and I'm going to talk about the Rangers minor league system. This is a kind of a preview for the season, talking about who is where on my top 30 prospect list, just kind of getting you a little bit orientated with what is going to be going down this season. I talked to Rangers prospect Sebastian Walcott, as well as several other guys on my top 30 Rangers prospect list at Frisco Rough Riders Media Day on Wednesday. Very excited to delve into what I learned from those guys and just what I'm excited to see this season. But I just want to start with kind of laying the landscape, saying where the heck is everybody on my top 30 preseason 2025 Texas Rangers prospect rankings. I'm going by those rankings because, it's my show, and that's kind of what we do here. But we're going to level by level, just let you know who's where, who you need to look out for, and what's important this season. Starting at the major league level, because the Rangers have several of their top guys with prospect status intact at the major league level. Starting with their number 2 prospect, Kumar Rocker. He is, in the major leagues. He's pretty easy to watch. Their number 4 prospect, which looks like I should have been a little bit higher on Jack Leiter. I did that ranking before I knew that Jack was just going to start sitting 98 and also had a new sinker and a new changeup that was going to be really nasty, and also that he was going to start commanding his fastball. If I knew that, he'd probably be the Rangers' number 1 prospect. Also at the big league level, at least for now, the number 18 prospect, Jonathan Ornelas, and for, I think, the long term, or at least until he gets optioned to make way for more fresh bullpen arms, the number 27 prospect in the Rangers system, Mark Church. In AAA, the Rangers have their number 5 prospect, Emiliano Teodo. He is relieving at this point. He is nasty, and he might be the one to take Mark Church's spot because so far he has already looked absolutely incredible in that relief role. Also in AAA, number 16 prospect, Justin Foscue, number 20 prospect, Dustin Harris, and also Evan Carter. I'll talk about him after I tell you where everybody is, but spoiler alert, I'm not yet worried about Evan Carter. In AA, in Frisco, Texas, this is the loaded place in the system. The Rangers have so many of their top prospects here. If you live in the DFW area, get yourself to a Frisco Rough Riders game. If it's this weekend, great. If it's not, also okay. If you live elsewhere in Texas, if there's a Texas League team near you, when the Frisco Rough Riders get to town, get yourself to a game because this team is loaded and going to be very fun. With their number 1 prospect, Sebastian Walcott, the Bahamian large teenage boy, one of the largest, the largest teenager I have ever seen with my own 2 eyes, only because I never stood next to the Frenchman, Victor Wembanyama. But this is a very, very large and very talented, very affable shortstop prospect, and maybe soon the top prospect in all of baseball. The Rangers' number 7 prospect, Winston Santos. He will be starting tonight, opening day for Frisco. He is a right-handed pitcher. He is pretty darn good. Number 9, Cam Cauley. Cam Cauley, shout out to the first guy who was the first Rangers minor leaguer who was ever on Locked On Rangers. That was several years ago. Got to meet him at Frisco Rough Riders Media Day in person. That was fun. He is a ball player, a scrappy middle infielder who's got some pop and got some real speed. Number 9 prospect in this Rangers system. Number 9, 10, and 11. If only they had number 12. But 9, 10, 11, and 13 are all in Frisco. Number 9, Cam Cauley. Number 10, Mitch Bratt, the Canadian left-handed starting pitcher. Added a couple of ticks of velo. Very, very affable dude. Was thrown to the Wolves at age 19 in the World Baseball Classic to start against a lineup of almost entirely future Hall of Famers. And, well, he didn't give up a home run. And he got out. You don't need to know anything else about that. Number 11, another left-handed starting pitcher, Cole Drake. The wily kid who had a breakout season last year was top 5 in all of minor league baseball in strikeouts with, I believe, 146. Definitely led the Rangers system. It was fewer than 150 and more than 140. I think 146 was the exact number. Excited for him. Number 13, Alejandro Ozuna. I am very excited for what this kid is going to do this season. Honestly, a little surprised that he's back in Frisco. Spent about half the year in Frisco last year and absolutely lit it up. He was the main character of Rangers spring training. He was absolutely crushing it there. And I don't know how long he'll stay in Frisco, but I'm excited to see him while he's here. The Rangers' number 13 prospect. Also, number 23 prospect, Abimelec Ortiz, the undrafted high school signee out of the 2020 class. With only 5 rounds, the Rangers signed him, and this dude has mashed. Last year, a tale of two halves. First half of the season, not great numbers. Overall process looked pretty good, but the results just were not there. And then in the second half, he absolutely mashed. Honestly, a little surprised he wasn't in AAA to start the season, but I'm sure he'll be there before long, competing with some at-bats at first base in AAA with Blaine Crim, a fan favorite. The number 28 prospect in the Ranger system, Skylar Hales, a right-handed reliever who throws absolute cheddar cheese and is built like Superman, looks like Superman. Frisco Rough Riders have called him Clark Kent because he's a very, very handsome man who's in his 6'5", I think. Just a very well-built dude. And then the Rangers' number 29 prospect, Brian Magdaleno, a lefty who throws cheddar cheese, got a nasty slider. He might end up in this Rangers bullpen by the end of the season. I mean, that kid has got some stuff. Now, high A, no longer the Hickory Crawdads. Hickory Crawdads are now low A. Gone are the Down East Wood Ducks. They are dissipated now. The Rangers' high A affiliate in the Sally League, South Atlantic League, is the Hub City Spartanburgers. It's going to take a minute to get used to that. But on the Hub City Spartanburgers, the Rangers have their number 6 prospect, first-round pick catcher Malcolm Moore, last year's first-round pick. The number 12 prospect, Dylan Dreiling, he was signed in the second round as a second-round draft pick last year out of Tennessee. Led them, as an Alabama fan, I have to say, unfortunately, to a national championship. But the dude can hit. Rangers number 21 prospect, outfielder Anthony Gutierrez, a toolsy young outfielder, still pretty young and still pretty interesting prospect. The Rangers' third-round pick, also last year, Casey Cook, a left-handed hitting, formerly left fielder, played basically 2 games, I think, in college at second base, but last year played exclusively at second base. He was drafted in the 3rd round out of North Carolina. Kid who's got a pretty good hit tool, defenses. Who knows? We'll see how good of a second baseman he is. Rangers' number 26 prospect as well, David Davalillo. He is a right-handed pitcher who is just an interesting guy to keep an eye on. We might end up seeing him in Frisco by the end of the year, and who knows? In low A, gets a little bit sparser the lower you go in the system. The Rangers system is a little bit top-heavy. In low A Hickory, number 17 catching prospect, Jesus Lopez. Number 24, an outfield prospect, Jeremy Cabrera, had a really nice season last year, and unfortunately, Brock Porter is back down in low A. Rangers number 30 prospect last year was just an unmitigated disaster for him. Hopefully he can get things back on track. A 4th round pick with a big signing bonus. The reason the Rangers took Rocker in that 2022 draft is so they could take a big swing on him. They paid him under slot, and then they used those savings to go get Brock Porter. In the Complex League, eventually when that starts, that's not starting yet, you'll see the Rangers' number 8 prospect, shortstop Yolfran Castillo, Paulino Santana, the Rangers' number 15 prospect, and their number 19 prospect, Braylon Morel. I think we will see him all the way down there. Now, on the IL, there are a few, unfortunately, of the Rangers prospects, including their number 3 prospect, Alejandro Rosario. He will not pitch at all this season. He has undergone or is undergoing Tommy John surgery. Unfortunately, he will be out all season. Last year, huge breakout for him. If not for Rocker just skyrocketing himself to the big leagues, Alejandro Rosario is the biggest development story last year. Also, Jose Corniel, I think he is going to return around mid-season. He had Tommy John surgery last year. He'll probably be in Double-A once he gets back, but we'll see exactly where he is. And then the only other prospect on my top 30 who is going to be on the IL is Isaac Tiger at number 22, a right-handed pitcher who unfortunately underwent internal brace surgery to repair a partially torn UCL. That was back in September of last year, so he is not going to pitch at all this year. A big picture on the Rangers system, it's a little top-heavy. I think it's a little bit deeper than some overall system grades are giving it credit for. A lot of it is buoyed by Sebastian Walcott, who we will be talking about in just a second. It's going to be a fun year for the system. It's going to be a fun year in Frisco. And coming up, we're going to talk about 5 big questions this Rangers farm system has to answer this year, right after this. This show is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical works, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the pros looking to get an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. So join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. This show is also brought to you by Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic associations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with 2-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified line to fuel his training and recovery. I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk. Whether you're recovering after a workout or need energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow @just.ingredients on Instagram. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. I'm back on Monday's show talking about this weekend series against the Rays. Hopefully one where the Rangers bats finally get going. But we're not talking about major leagues today. We are talking about the minors and some future major leaguers. We got 5 questions that the Rangers prospects need to answer this season. And we're going to start with number 1 from the number 1. The Rangers' number 1 prospect, Sebastian Walcott. Number 1 question that the Rangers farm system has to answer this season. How good is Sebastian Walcott, and what position is he playing in the major leagues? Now, Sebastian Walcott is the Rangers' top prospect universally across the board. I was honestly back and forth between him and Rocker. I feel very good about picking Sebastian Walcott after one start for Rocker this season. Rocker will be fine, but it's more about how high I am on Sebastian Walcott. And after talking to him for the first time, meeting the largest teenager I've ever met, listed at 6'4", 190 pounds, I think he's put on some good muscle since then. Very much every bit of 6'4". Some players are much shorter than their listed height. Sebastian Walcott is absolutely not. This kid is so confident, so poised, so polished for a child, a literal child. He is 19 years old and he is already in Double-A. Heck, he made Double-A at 18. He's got some big goals for himself. He wants to be the greatest Bahamian baseball player ever. That will be a competition between him and Jazz Chisholm because there have been 9 count them, 9 players from the Bahamas in Major League Baseball history. The first one was Ormond Sampson back in 1932. There was another in 1960. It was a little bit before that. Then there was 1970, 1980. There have been a few as of late, mainly Jazz Chisholm Jr., the best at this point Bahamian baseball player, who's got 8.79 career baseball reference for, which is pretty by far and away the leader. Excuse me, Andre Rogers is 6. So it's not the steepest competition. Jazz is a very good player, but the ceiling on Sebastian Walcott is just obscenely high. I mean, this kid has got, he's playing beyond his years. He was given a huge challenge last year, and he more than stepped up to the plate. The first month of the season, it felt like he was trying to put too much pressure on himself. He said he was, just trying to worry more about the results than the process, and that, led to him, spiraling a little bit of just, it's harder to get out of slumps when you're just focused on what the actual results are, as opposed to, say you're hitting 140 or so for a month, and you start stinging some balls and hitting some line drives, and they're just going right into guys' gloves. Those are good processes, and it's easy to get torn down in the results of, oh well, that was a lineout, that didn't count as a hit. But eventually at the big league level, and eventually even at the smaller levels, those will turn into singles, into doubles, into extra base hits. And this kid, the physical tools paired with the maturity, paired with the poise, the ability to work hard and to get better, to get this much better this quickly. I mean, being 18 at high A, just straight up jumping low A at that point, was an incredibly difficult assignment. And by the year, he's almost bored. He was almost too good for high A towards the back half of the year. He probably could have been promoted to Frisco a little bit earlier. He played 5 games in the regular season with Frisco last year and was absolutely outstanding in those 5 games, tallying a homer and 3 doubles, a 984 OPS in just those 5 games, a 796 OPS on the season. Strikeout rate was a little high, which makes sense for an 18-year-old at a very, very advanced level, but the walk rate was over 10%. That's a good walk rate. Strikeout rate, 132 strikeouts and a little over 500 plate appearances. That's a little high, but not anything particularly concerning. He hits the ball just obscenely hard. I mean, his hardest hit ball in spring training, which was only 7 games, by the way, 8 games and 10 plate appearances. He hit a ball 115 miles an hour. And the only other guys to hit balls harder in spring training were Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. And that wasn't just a small sample size either. This kid just always hits the ball incredibly hard. He's 6'4", and he plays shortstop. There's not a whole lot of guys who do that. One of the few who does is, of course, Rangers great, and according to Sebastian Walcott, the best shortstop in the game, that's Corey Seager, and he's not going anywhere. If Sebastian Walcott does achieve his goal of making the big leagues as a teenager, which there have been so few teenagers to actually do it since 2010, the only players to do it, to debut as a teenager, Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Jurickson Profar, Dylan Bundy, Julio Urias, Juan Soto, and very briefly, Elvis Luciano, who made his debut with the Blue Jays as a 19-year-old as a reliever, was bad and has not been in the big leagues since then. That was several years ago. So not a whole lot of guys to do it, to be big leaguers at 19, which would have to be this year because he turns 20 next year. He'd be such an old guy. But the ceiling on this guy, I hate giving comps, especially a comp like this because it feels unfair, but it's just that this guy's acumen for getting better at baseball and the raw abilities, it reminds me a lot of Fernando Tatis Jr. And Tatis didn't even make the big leagues at 19. He made it at 20 and was immediately one of the best players out there. I don't know if that's going to be the route for Walcott, but he plays shortstop, in the shortstop position and the second base position. They're locked up for a while. If Walcott makes the big leagues this year, at the end of this year, starts establishing service time next year at 20, whatever he hits free agency after his 6 years of club control, that he will be hitting free agency the same time that Corey Seager's contract is done. That's how long Corey Seager is going to be here. So there's probably going to be some spots that he plays elsewhere. Right now, until there's a need to push him off of shortstop, he is going to play shortstop. Because maybe eventually Corey Seager moves to first base or third base or somewhere else. Maybe Sebastian Walcott is the one to push him off of the position. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Maybe he ends up playing the outfield. He said he's fine with that. He's fine with positional versatility. He's like, I'm a shortstop. I want to be a shortstop. But more importantly, I want to do whatever it takes to help the Rangers win a championship. Great mentality for a teenager. Not very common mentality for a teenager. He's going to play a little bit of third. The Frisco Rough Riders manager said, hey, there's going to be some positional versatility. We've talked about him. There have been some talks about maybe playing the outfield, whether it's center field, whether it's right field. The guy's got the strongest arm of any infielder in the Rangers system, so right field kind of makes sense. Left field, maybe center field will be patrolled by Wyatt Langford. Maybe Adolis Garcia next year moves over to left field. And with the struggles of Evan Carter, it seems like there might be a position opened up in the outfield. We'll talk more about that. Actually, you know what? We can talk about that now. Evan Carter, just put a pin in it. I'm not worried about him yet. It's been a week. Chill. Everybody chill. But this Sebastian Walcott kid is so incredibly poised, so incredibly talented, so ready for the challenge. He's not putting too much on himself. He is just free and easy and just ready to be himself and crush it at AA, and I think he's going to. The ceiling is immensely high with this kid for not only power potential, for elite defense, for an elite arm, for a pretty good approach. Not quite, Wyatt Langford level, Evan Carter level of knowing the strike zone, but he'll take his walks, and the raw power, it is maybe the best of anybody in the Rangers organization. Full stop. Better than anybody. I think raw power-wise, maybe even at the big league level, I think Corey Seager gets the most out of his game power. But just pure raw exit velos, it's right up there with Adolis Garcia's insane raw power, Wyatt Langford's insane raw power. This kid hits the ball harder than anybody and has done it at such a young age, while he still has more room to fill out. I mean, the ceiling is unimaginable with this kid. The floor is raising up every single day, and if he takes on AA and can handle it without failing, this is going to be, I think, an absolute superstar at the big league level, and that dream of becoming a teenage big leaguer might just be a reality. Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about this Rangers pitching system. Was last year a fluke? How can the Rangers prove that it wasn't, and that they're just good at developing pitchers now? Talk about how and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Gametime. There is nothing better than going to a baseball game live. Minor League Baseball starts today. The minor league season starts in earnest today, and go get yourself out to a game. The minor league experience is incredible, and sometimes buying tickets to baseball games can be difficult, but not with Gametime. Gametime is the best way to get your tickets to any live event you're looking to go to, whether that's a minor league baseball game, whether that's a major league baseball game, or I don't know if I don't think that they have anything for, T-ball games, but get yourself to a minor league game with Gametime. They make getting tickets so easy. You can see exactly what your seat's going to look like when you get there. They got the all-in pricing, so you know exactly what you're going to pay up front. No surprise fees at checkout when you toggle that feature. They make tickets so easy, and especially last-minute tickets, the prices will oftentimes go down right as you're getting closer to first pitch. If you're thinking, you know what? I need to get me out to a game. Go check out how to get those tickets at Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Now, the number 2 question that the Rangers farm system has to ask, number 1, of course, is with number 1, Sebastian Walcott. How good is he? And what position is he playing at the big league level? I think we'll find out a little bit about that this year. The number 2 question is a question about last year. Is the Rangers farm system just good at developing pitchers now? Last year, the Rangers had an incredible breakout year from their pitching development. Not just Kumar Rocker looking incredible. Not just like Jack Leiter taking some steps forward and looking half decent. Not just Cody Bradford establishing himself as a legit starting pitcher, but it was all the way up and down this system. So many guys who I did not pay did not know much about and did not have high expectations for, that by the end of the season, I thought these guys might be big league starting caliber pitchers, including Mitch Bratt, who had a great year last year, Cole Drake, the two lefties in Double-A. Very, very affable dudes. I'm very excited about their future. Bratt, he talked about adding a couple of ticks, maybe a tick and a half on his fastball. That's a big deal for him. It's not quite Cole Reagan's level of adding 2-3 ticks to his fastball, but he was sitting in the low 90s and he's commanding that fastball well. Both of those guys talking about Cody Bradford setting the expectation of, hey, you don't need to throw 100 miles an hour, especially as a lefty. If you can spot your fastball and have a good changeup. Both of those guys had great years last year, and I am really excited to see what they're doing. But this is the year where it goes from, the Rangers had a lot of nice stories last year, pitching development-wise. I mean, Rocker, Leiter, Alejandro Rosario, both of these two guys that I was just talking about, David Davalillo, also Mark Church stepping up and looking pretty great this season, Emiliano Teodo, also last year. Unfortunately, with Alejandro Rosario going down with Tommy John surgery, that is a huge bummer. Kind of happens to everybody, and I don't know why so many prospect lists dropped him so far. I mean, he's still, even with the Tommy John surgery, if I had to redo it, well, he wouldn't drop below Jack Leiter because of the Tommy John surgery. But still, the Rangers have some holes to fill in this staff, some depth that they need in terms of their rotation. If there is another injury, I mean, there's a reason the Rangers signed Patrick Corbin. You'd like for some of these guys to be ready soon to kind of help and be starters. But if not, then, we'll see. We'll see how this Rangers squad does. But the depth of the pitching system is mostly in Double-A. We'll start to see Jose Corniel at some point this season. He was a guy who you might have forgotten about as the Rangers pitch of the year in 2022. Went down, or 2023, missed all of 2024, and will be back at some point this year. But if the Rangers can do it again, have more guys that you have not heard of, you have not thought about, pop up on the radar as top 30 prospect and potential future starting pitchers in a big league rotation, that is a huge thing. If Mitch Bratt and Cole Drake can establish themselves as future starters, that is a huge thing. If Winston Santos can start to command some of that secondary stuff a little bit better, to have it, play more for swing and miss stuff, that slider, that changeup, the fastball's already really good. At worst, I think Winston Santos is going to be a dynamite back-end reliever, but if he can be a starter, that is a huge game changer for the Rangers rotation of the future, and that is a very, very important thing that the Rangers need to answer. I think that they have legitimately turned a corner. I think Chris Young has figured something out about how to marry the old school with the new school. Mitch Bratt talked about it at Media Day, saying, hey, they've kind of found a balance of how to strike that balance between, okay, here's all the information you need. Also, what is the old school? What is the feel? Marrying those two is very, very difficult. Some organizations go to numbers heavy, some go to old school heavy and don't bring enough data and analytics and stuff into it. The Rangers seem to be taking all of their pitchers in a case-by-case basis and doing a better job of individualizing some of that data and the way that they approach their development. And I think that is a huge sign that this Rangers team didn't just have a nice year last year of figuring out how to develop a couple of pitchers, but I think they've really started to learn a little bit better of how to do that, not just last year, but for the long term. Number 3 question the Rangers minor league system needs to answer probably this year. Is Malcolm Moore the Rangers catch of the future? Actually, you know what? Scratch that. First off, we need to answer, is Malcolm Moore actually a catcher? I mean, he's a catcher for now. But there have been some questions about the glove. With basically any catching prospect, there will either be questions about the glove or the bat. Is this guy legitimately a catcher, or is he just a guy who can squat back there and hit the ball really well? Or it goes the opposite way of, oh, wow, this guy's a great defensive catcher, but can he hit worth a lick? If you can do both, then, well, you're basically Adley Rutschman. There's not a whole lot of the guys who can do both. Malcolm Moore is a bat-first guy, but the Rangers love his makeup. Grant Schiller, I talked with him about seeing him out there in Surprise in spring training. He feels very confident that the wrist strength is there. He'll be able to be a framer. The Rangers have been raving about his makeup, the way that he will talk to his staff and run a game, call a game, and the trust that pitchers will have in him and his teammates will have in him. That's a great sign. The bat, I'm not too worried about it. I think it's going to be a good back. He will be in Hub City with Spartanburgers. I hope that we see him in Frisco by the end of the year, but I'm not putting that expectation on him. Catchers take a while to develop, and this guy has got a pretty high ceiling. A first-round catcher. The Rangers have some high hopes for him, and it should be an interesting year for Malcolm Moore. Do we see him in Frisco by the end of the year? Who knows? But before we can figure out if he's the Rangers' catcher of the future, we got to figure out if he's a catcher in the first place. Number 4 question that the Rangers farm system has to answer this year: can Texas develop some homegrown dominant relief arms or at least some depth starters? Now, the Rangers' pen for this year is a lot of one-year free agent signings. There was a lot of them. Luke Jackson, Chris Martin, Howie Milner, Sean Armstrong. There were a lot of these guys. So next year, the Rangers either have to develop internally some really good dominant relief arms, or they're going to have to sign a whole bunch of relievers again. Now, I think Mark Church is going to be a very good reliever. So far this year, he's been a little shaky in his couple of appearances, but still hasn't allowed an earned run. Still sitting 98 with that fastball. Still has one of the nastier sliders in the entire system, and that splinker, I think, is working well for him. Guys like Skylar Hales, guys like Brian Magdaleno, guys like Emiliano Teodo, who may be up in a couple of weeks with how incredibly good he's been already in AAA. Can the Rangers develop some homegrown dominant relief arms? They haven't really been able to do that. Jose Leclerc is kind of the closest approximation they've had to that. And I love Pico, World Series champion. That month-long stretch in October was well worth all the years and innings of frustration, of meltdowns where he couldn't find the zone or allowed a clutch homer. That World Series run, special forever. But you would have liked to have had a few more of those guys. Maybe if the Rangers had a few more of those guys, they wouldn't have to have shipped off Cole Reagans for Aroldis Chapman, and then they could have a better homegrown rotation. Alas, we will figure that out this year. There are a lot of candidates that I've talked about in my top 30 that should get their big league debut and make an impact, I think, this year. But that is really going to be an important thing for the 2026 Rangers and beyond. And if they can't develop some depth starters, at least give them some dominant back-end arms in the pen. And I think they've got more than a few in this system. And the number 5 question that the Rangers need to answer this year on the farm: can some of these toolsy youngster hitters take the next step? This is guys like Yolfran Castillo, Paulino Santana, Jason Morabel, Morel as well, Gutierrez, and Yeremy Cabrera. We'll see what those guys look like this year. I mean, some of those guys, Yolfran is still very, very young, so we'll see how high he gets up. I don't anticipate him having a Sebastian Walcott-like year where he just blazes through the system. I'm assuming he's going to start in the Complex League. Maybe we see him in Low A Hickory by the end of the year, or maybe around mid-season. It's going to be around June, I think, is when the Complex League starts. Maybe it's towards the end of May. So we won't see a lot of these guys for a while. Paulino Santana, he will also start in the Complex League. Excited to see what he can do. Gutierrez has been a guy who the Rangers have been very, very high on. He is playing full season ball. Last year was not particularly great for him. I believe he is going to be in high A. Literally just talked about that 3 seconds ago, and it has already gone out of my mind. Yes, he is going to be with the Hub City Spartanburgers. So what can he do over there? I'm excited to see what he can do with Advanced A and with Hub City, and what the Spartanburgers will even look like. The Rangers have a lot of these guys who hopefully will start to take a little bit of that next step to start to break out and say, okay, this isn't just a guy who the Rangers gave a bunch of money as an international signing. This is a guy with some legit promise, turning legit promise into actual on-field results. These guys are still very, very far away from even getting to Double-A, where I will actually get some eyes on them. But it'll be big years for all of these guys. Excited for hopefully one or more of them to continue their breakouts and build on their promise and have a great minor league season. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy minor league baseball.